Thank you very much, Leandra. By way of introduction, let me just tell you a little bit about June 16th and why it's relevant, not just to us here in South Africa, but to all of us around the world. As some of you may know from a historical perspective, 1976 was a big year in the liberation struggle. And in June of 1976, students from various schools began to protest in the streets of Soweto in response to the introduction of Afrikaans as the medium of instruction in Black schools. On that day, an estimated 20,000 students, peacefully, I might add, protested. And they were protesting in the streets of Soweto, and they were met with fierce police brutality, and many of them were shot and killed. The official death toll was 176, but some sources have estimated that as many as 700 fatalities took place over 3 days. And so, of course, it was a turning point in history. And when images and news of it leaked out of South Africa into the international community, ripples of shock were felt, and people were appalled internationally that such young, innocent, peaceful protesters were killed. An iconic photo was taken of Hector Peterson, who had been fatally shot and was being carried by his classmate. And alongside them running in that photograph, you would see his sister Antoinette, who of course was traumatized. Hector was just 12 years old. There's now a statue in Johannesburg honoring that and honoring him. He was the youngest victim of the day. And when Mandela became president, June 16th was instated as a national holiday. Sadly, I'm not a youth anymore. I would like to think that I'm young in spirit, but of course I don't qualify as a young person. But I do love working with young people and learning from them and learning with them as we grapple with the issues of the day. So for the past 2 years, I've facilitated a youth program here in the city of Cape Town, and it's for grade 10 and grade 11 students from every walk of life and from different areas, different backgrounds, different races. And I wanted to therefore devote today to their voices. It's not mine, I'm not the youth, but they are. And this is their day. This is their turn, this is their world, and it's our future. So first of all, as an act of defiance, I want to play you a short poem written and recited by Amanda Gorman, our Youth Poet Laureate of the USA. And her poem, which she wrote, you may know this actually, because I was shocked when I read about it, which is why I wanted to include it in today's service. Her poem that she wrote for Biden's inauguration was recently banned by a school in Florida. And in response, Amanda wrote a long and brilliant social media post in which she said, "Bans like these are on the rise, and we must fight back." So, Amanda, in solidarity, I chose your poem, and she wrote it during the pandemic, and here she is reciting it herself, and the words will come up in the chat box. So enjoy, please. The poem is titled "The Miracle of Morning" by Amanda Gorman.
Hi, I'm Amanda Gorman, and this is my poem, "The Miracle of Morning." I thought I'd awaken to a world in mourning, heavy clouds crowding, a society storming, but there's something different on this golden morning, something magical in the sunlight, wide and warming. I see a dad with a stroller taking a jog across the street. A bright-eyed girl chases her dog. A grandma on a porch fingers her rosaries. She grins as her young neighbor brings her groceries while we might feel small, separate, and all alone. Our people have never been more closely tethered because the question isn't if we can weather this unknown, but how we will weather this unknown together. So on this meaningful morn, we mourn and we mend like lights we can't be broken. Even when we bend as one, we will defeat both despair and disease. We stand with healthcare heroes and all employees, with families, libraries, waiters, schools, artists, businesses, restaurants, and hospitals hit hardest. We ignite not in the light, but in lack thereof. For it is in loss that we truly learn to love. In this chaos, we will discover clarity. In suffering, we must find solidarity, for it's our grief that gives us our gratitude, shows us how to find hope if we ever shall lose it. So ensure that this ache wasn't endured in vain. Do not ignore the pain. Give it purpose. Use it. Read children's books. Dance alone to DJ music. Know that this distance will make our hearts grow fonder. From a wave of woes, our world will emerge stronger. We'll observe how the burdens braved by humankind are also the moments that make us humans kind. Let each dawn find us courageous, brought closer, heeding the lights before the fight is over. When this ends, we'll smile sweetly, finally seeing in testing times we became the best of beings.
Amen. And so beautifully, beautifully put, Amanda. And so in the spirit of the best of beings, let me introduce Blessing, who was part of the youth program that we were all together in last year. She's now grade 11 and they're preparing for their final years of exams next year. She has great aspirations to go into either medicine or engineering. She hasn't made up her mind, but she's the sort of person that would excel in whatever she did. So I'd like to share these next few minutes with you and Blessing. Thank you, Blessing.
Thank you. Good evening, good afternoon. My name is Blessing, and today I'd just like to share a poem called Fleeing Home to South Africa. In lands afar, where dreams may find their flight, I seeked refuge under African skies so bright. I embarked on a journey to reclaim my life. South Africa, a motherland embraced by hope, beacon me with promises and endless scope. I've left behind memories and faces I could no longer shape. On wings of courage, walked through deserts and valleys, I persevered. For a chance at freedom, I conquered every fear. So I tell my story today. I preach my wounds and forgotten scars, a testament to resilience. My story I'll share. For I found my sanctuary beyond compare. In this land of diverse cultures, histories, and beauty, I find myself at the intersection of various identities, embracing the richness of my heritage and the challenges it entails. As a woman of color, I walk a path shaped by the triumphs and struggles of those who came before me. Thank you. So this poem, I'm from Congo. My family and I, we left my country when I was at the age of 6 or 5, I can't recall. And on our way here, it was very difficult because we had to go through routes, and it was a very long journey. And the reason why my father came here, he came before us, and he was like, this country feels so much better than Congo because there was war happening. The education wasn't so good. My father was working 2 jobs just to support us back home. And he felt that if we came here, we'll get a proper education. And that is what I want as well, because I want to become an engineer or a doctor. I'm still deciding, not just to make myself proud, but to make my parents proud, because of them, I got here. Because of them, I'm experiencing the beauties of South Africa, the beauty of education, and the beauty of still learning about youth and myself. Because I know if I was in a different place, probably I wouldn't have known much about this, and I would have met such interesting people and amazing people like Pippa and Zahra and Banzi, and having to see you as well. So coming here for me was such, I call it a blessing. My name is Blessing. My parents say I'm the blessing to their life, but for me, coming to South Africa has been such a blessing for my family, for me, and I believe for even those who came here seeking for refugee, I believe that was also a blessing for them. So I'm grateful, and I'm still learning. And I remember Pippa asking us at camp, where are you? And I pounded and I thought so hard, and I was like, that's such an interesting question, because it's always, who are you? And it's difficult for us to explain that. And we still, but with Pippa, what she asked me, and I came back and I realized I am where I'm meant to be. I'm still walking. I might leave, I might die tomorrow, but where I am right now, that's the utmost important. So where I am right here in this room with beautiful people, or where I was yesterday with my family, or where I'll be when I leave here, that's exactly where I want to be. So I'm truly grateful. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, hi. My name is Zahra, known as Z. And today I'll be talking about the diversity that the youth today experience in South Africa, and how the older generation could help us and guide us through daily lives. And yeah, as a youth from South Africa, I could talk days on end about how bad our lives are certain times, with education, with housing and classes, even with race. Although I felt like I should talk about how our diversity shapes us into great people, and how it guides us growing through life and finding ourselves in this generation. And yeah, South Africa is known for the diversity, and by that I mean our music, our cultures, our religions, and so many more. I mean, we've really got a lot we can offer. It shapes us as people, like I've said, and it helps us navigate lives and stuff. And although our diversity brings fault, it also brings greatness. It brings a sense of belonging, and it helps us experience other people's ways of life and their cultures and their music and different things that we aren't used to. Yeah. The one thing I would say that the youth needs from the older generation is more guidance, not pity, not anything, but more guidance. Guide us through education, guide us through how we'd want to live our lives one day, guide us through opening ourselves up through new jobs, new everything. And yeah. Thank you.
We're playing musical chairs here, but thank you so much. Thank you, Z, and thank you, Blessing. I want to turn over the microphone now to my beloved Banzi, who I think you're still around. As I said, he's beaming in from his university campus. Banzi has a lot to share with us, and we're looking forward to it. Thank you, Banzi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pippa. Once again, I'd like to say hello to everybody. My name is Banzi Bottoman, and I am a third-year law student at Stellenbosch University. And the place I'm in right now is sort of the, how can I say, it's one of the reasons why 1976 really happened to begin with, because right back in 1976, what the government was doing was imposing a certain language on certain individuals, and that basically governed the entire education system. And right now, as I sit in Stellenbosch University, we still do have certain languages that are imposed and certain languages that reign supreme than others. And that was the real purport of what 1976 was. And it still is, unfortunately and sadly, my reality. So what will I be talking about today? So what I will be talking about specifically today is what idealistic constitutionalism has done to South Africa. And as I said in the beginning, I am a law student. So therefore, what I mean by idealistic constitutionalism, I mean that this beautiful constitution that we have and this beautiful legal system that we have, it is idealistic in that it does not really work for young people. Instead, it's just working for the system. And then by the system, I mean the workings and how the economy is set up, and not necessarily age or generation, but rather how the current government right now is functioning. And also how activism is demonized, and how also when young people are not just trying to change but topple the system, they are demonized. And therefore, I will take you through my lived reality and how I could still say that indeed 1976 is still a reality that I still live in right now in Stellenbosch. So here's where I will start. So what happens in this country and what happens in South Africa currently as we speak is that we have a very troubling political landscape as we speak. For example, our Reserve Bank has increased repo rates, and that basically means that those that don't afford much in South Africa will have to be paying more. The Department of Basic Education has showed that pupils in grade 4 are more than 80% of those cannot read. And also in Stellenbosch University, we see outbreaks of also racism as it stands. And also we see young people having an outcry in universities like the University of the Western Cape and also the University of Witwatersrand. And also we see South Africa losing trust in our National Prosecuting Authority in the current cases, and it's called the infamous Thabo Bester case. So what do I mean when I say that this law is idealistic and doesn't work for the young person? I will specifically be dealing with interdicts. And what interdicts do in our law is that the law tries to prevent something from happening or tries to sort of prevent it from happening in future. And also looking at it from perspective that there will be danger and therefore we will try and reduce it. And right now, as a law student, I sit sometimes and I listen to my lecturer telling me that no, interdicts, all the only thing they do is just try and prevent harm. But what does that mean to young people when an interdict is trying to prevent activism? What does a young people think when an interdict is trying to stop rights? And by rights, I mean the right to house, the right to education, the right to wealth, the right to freedom and security, the right in commercial dispute resolution, all of these items. And what I've come to realize is that the young voice right now is being demonized. And by demonized, I mean exactly in Stellenbosch and in the country as we speak. In South Africa, the young voice right now is being silenced because they don't just want a better future than what 1976 was advocating for, but instead they want to topple everything. And what old people would say, or what our fellow citizens would say, is that this young generation really is just very woke and they just want to topple everything. And I think what I want to say today is that I think we should rather embrace and not demonize this voice, because this voice is looking at how the current economy and the current government, I'm not sure in how New York, the young people feel there, but I think what in essence young South Africans today want to feel is that may our voice not be demonized and may our activism not be silenced, but instead that we don't have idealistic constitutionalism, but instead we have a country and a government and laws that help and build the young voice. And we need those who are experienced. We need the ones that are older than us to guide us along the way and to inform how our societal values can be preserved and can be used to better how the future should be and how it should be envisioned. I thank you, everyone.
If I ever get the chance to vote here, Banzi, my vote for you as the next president, for sure.
You've said that to me a million times. Maybe I might just get into politics. I might just do it.
But I do want to pause and say thank you. It's a random thing to ask three of the people and the young people that I've gotten to know over the last year or so. You know, would you come and talk about what it feels like to be a young person in today's world? But I hope that we've given you a little snapshot in terms of how they're feeling and their gratitudes and what they're grappling with and their hopes and their desires. And in closing, I will share with you some thoughts that I have about how we can respond to the young people of today in wherever we are, wherever our feet are, wherever our lives take us. I just want to close with a couple of thoughts based on the inspiration that Z and Blessing and Banzi have given me today. And that is that when Mandela spoke of Youth Day, he said, and I will quote him directly, he said, sacrifices were made by the youth of that time. Of course, he's referring to 1976 especially. Sacrifices were made by the youth of that time. They lay down their lives for the sake of freedom. And historians have commented that apartheid was defeated, and it wasn't because the ANC was so powerful, but because the revolution started with the kids. Once we were villages, and we had a chain of generations living and operating together. In our modern Western world, we have gained so much, and yet I feel at times we've also lost. And I think that we risk generations becoming siloed. And we need that cross-pollination. We need to be elders. We need to listen to the needs and hopes and fears and concerns of our young people. And we need to be in relationship with one another. I just want to close with a couple of thoughts based on the inspiration that Z and Blessing and Banzi have given me today. And that is that when Mandela spoke of Youth Day, he said, and I will quote him directly, he said, sacrifices were made by the youth of that time. Of course, he's referring to 1976 especially. Sacrifices were made by the youth of that time. They lay down their lives for the sake of freedom. And historians have commented that apartheid was defeated, and it wasn't because the ANC was so powerful, but because the revolution started with the kids. Once we were villages, and we had a chain of generations living and operating together. In our modern Western world, we have gained so much, and yet I feel at times we've also lost. And I think that we risk generations becoming siloed. And we need that cross-pollination. We need to be elders. We need to listen to the needs and hopes and fears and concerns of our young people. And we need to be in relationship with one another. And if there's time, I'm going to ask for Leandra maybe to open up the mics, and if there's anything that you want to share, anything that's touched you today in response to what Z and Blessing and Banzi have brought us, then we really do welcome your voices and your wisdom and your input. But for the time being, just to close with this thought, and that is that when I trained to be a teacher, my teacher trainer said to me that ideally all teachers should be students. And she said to me, Pippa, you should always be in the seat of learning for as long as you want to be a teacher. And that always said to me that a reminder, a powerful reminder that really if we're to live life like that, then we are in this constant chain of learning and teaching, giving and receiving. I'm going to circle back to the song that we opened up with for a good reason, and that is it was written by a young American artist, singer, and songwriter called Nightbirdie. And I don't know if any of you are fans of America's Got Talent. I am. And Nightbirdie appeared on America's Got Talent in 2021. And her song was so powerful that she got the golden buzzer. And on that moment, on that day, on the other side of the world, her story inspired young, Black, impoverished kids in the township of South Africa, specifically Soweto. And 2 years later, that youth choir that we opened up with today would go to America, go to California, and would perform her song in the USA. And they would also get the golden buzzer. In fact, they even made Simon cry, which I know is not an easy thing to do. Now, when Nightbirdie performed on that stage, what a lot of people didn't know until she took the microphone is that she had terminal cancer. And the doctors had given her a 2% chance of survival. But she said that 2% was better than none. And she said that she had in her song a message for other young people, that it's okay and that it's all right. And that it's okay to be lost, and that we will find our way together. My professor at university said, Pippa, sometimes it's good to be lost, because in these moments we employ all of our senses and pay all of our attention in order to find our way. So a reminder to all of us that we are in this journey together. And as Ramdas said, we're basically here just to walk each other home.
If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. Thank you.